The Horus Heresy is without a doubt the most important event in the entire Warhammer 40k universe. So, in this video, I'm going to break down the complete timeline of this massive civil war that turned humanity's potential golden age into the grimdark nightmare we all know and love. The Heresy changed everything, and I mean everything, about the Imperium of Man. Let's dive in and see how it all went so horribly wrong. But first, we need some context. The Emperor of Mankind had created 20 Primarchs, superhuman sons genetically engineered to be perfect warriors, leaders, and conquerors. Each was designed with unique powers and abilities to lead his conquest of the galaxy. But before they could grow up, the Chaos Gods, which are malevolent entities from the warp that hate the Emperor, scattered these babies across space. This was a big setback for the Emperor's plans, and forced the Emperor to create the Space Marine legions from the Primarch's genetic material, and begin his Great Crusade to conquer the galaxy and search for his lost sons. The Space Marines were superhuman warriors, but nothing compared to the Primarchs themselves. Each legion took on aspects of their Primarch's genetics, even before being reunited with them. Around the year 200 of the Crusade, the Emperor had found all his sons and conquered about 1 million worlds. The Great Crusade was going better than anyone could have imagined. The Primarchs led their legions to many planets, bringing human worlds back to the Empire. Sometimes they did this peacefully, but often they used force. The Emperor's dream of united humanity was starting to come true. He decided to turn to Terra to work on a secret project, accessing something called the Webway, which was an ancient network of tunnels through the warp that would allow humanity to travel without relying on dangerous warp travel. While working on the Webway, the Emperor put his favourite son, Horus, in charge as War Master. And this was his first crucial mistake. By putting one Primarch above the others, the Emperor planted the seeds of resentment and rivalry. Some Primarchs like Angron, Perturabo, and Mortarion felt overlooked and undervalued. They had conquered worlds in the Emperor's name just as Horus had, yet they weren't given the same recognition. But the Emperor's second mistake might have been even worse. He kept crucial information from his sons, particularly about the true nature of the Warp and the Chaos Gods. He thought he was protecting them, but his silence actually left them vulnerable. One Primarch in particular, Lorgar Aurelian of the Word-Bearers Legion, had been treating the Emperor like a god for years. His legion conquered worlds and forced millions to worship the Emperor. The problem was that the Emperor hated religion and wanted a non-religious empire based on his imperial truth. He wanted humanity to live by a rational, materialist philosophy that denied the existence of gods and supernatural entities. When the Emperor discovered what Lorgar was doing, he publicly humiliated him and had his favourite city, Monarchia, destroyed by the Ultramarines. He then forced Lorgar and his legion to kneel in the ashes of the ruined city as punishment, which was once again a really bad move. Scorned, Lorgar went on a spiritual journey and wandered into places no Primarch should go. He ventured to the Eye of Terra, and there he discovered the Chaos Gods. The ruinous powers hated the Emperor and offered Lorgar the validation he desperately wanted. They told him that the Emperor had lied. There were indeed gods in the universe. And what's more, these gods told Lorgar that the Emperor himself was planning to become a god by sacrificing humanity. Upon hearing this, Lorgar secretly gave himself to chaos and began plotting to turn others against the Emperor. His first target, of course, was Horus. The War Master himself already had doubts about the Emperor being gone, and the tragedy that would one day be known as the Horus Heresy started on a planet called Davin. During a battle with the planetary governor, who had turned traitor, Horus was hurt by a chaos weapon called an anatheme. The wound was lethal, and no medical treatment could help. Horus was dying. Secretly influenced by Lorgar's priests, his officers brought him to a chaos temple on Davin for healing. While in a coma, Lorgar's priests showed him false visions of a future where the Emperor abandons his sons and becomes a tyrant worshipped as a god. These visions showed the Imperium as a nightmarish religious state where the Emperor sat on a golden throne, fed by 1,000 souls a day, while his sons were either dead or forgotten. Statues of the Emperor stood everywhere, and those who didn't worship him were executed as heretics. What Horus didn't realise was that this grim future would only happen because of his own rebellion. Ironic, right? A self-fulfilling prophecy engineered by the Chaos Gods. Convinced the Emperor planned to discard him and his brothers and become a god, Horus made a deal with Chaos. Give me the power to defeat my father, and I'll give you the galaxy. With that deal, the heresy officially began. Horus woke up from his coma, healed but now corrupted by chaos. Even his closest allies didn't realise how much he had changed. But soon his orders began to shift. He pulled back his troops and began preparing for a civil war. His first task was to recruit his brothers to his cause. Some, like Angron of the World Eaters and Mortarion of the Death Guard, were easy to turn. They already resented the Emperor. The Primarch Fulgrim of the Emperor's Children was corrupted through chaos artifacts, so he did not require much convincing. Others, like Perturabo of the Iron Warriors, were swayed by Horus's arguments about the Emperor's betrayal. Horus now had 9 Primarchs on his side: himself, Lorgar, Angron, Fulgrim, Mortarion, Perturabo, Conrad Kurz, Alpharius and Megon, the twin Primarchs of the Alpha Legion, and Magnus the Red, who would join later under different circumstances. But even 9 Primarchs wouldn't be enough if the loyal Space Marines in their own legions fought against them. Horus also knew that not all Space Marines would betray the Emperor, so his first move was to purge the loyal followers from his own forces. He identifies Marines loyal to the Emperor amongst his ranks and sends them all to a planet called Isstvan III to crush a rebellion. When the Space Marines touched down, Horus dropped bombs filled with a deadly virus known as the Life Eater onto the planet's surface. The results were horrific. It broke down all organic matter within minutes, turning all living beings into a flammable sludge. Then Horus's fleet fired bombardment cannons, igniting the atmosphere and turning the entire planet into a raging firestorm. But Horus's plan wasn't perfect. Some of the loyalist Space Marines, warned by reluctant traitors like Sol Tarvitz of the Emperor's Children, took shelter inside underground bunkers and survived. Even though there were fewer, the loyalists fought back against the traitors trying to kill them. A small group of Death Guard led by Battle Captain Nathaniel Garrow managed to escape on a ship called the Eisenstein and headed to Terra to warn the Emperor. Horus then set an even bigger trap. He sent out a request for reinforcements to 7 other legions for help dealing with the rebellion. 4 of these legions, the Iron Warriors, Alpha Legion, Word Bearers, and Night Lords, were secretly already with Horus but hadn't revealed it yet. When 3 loyal legions, the Raven Guard, Salamanders, and Iron Hands, arrived first at Isstvan V, they were immediately betrayed and nearly wiped out by 4 traitor legions. This became known as the Dropsite Massacre, one of the bloodiest betrayals in Imperial history. 3 Primarchs fought on the loyalist side: Corvus Corax of the Raven Guard, Vulcan of the Salamanders, and Ferrus Manus of the Iron Hands. Ferrus Manus, angry at his close brother Fulgrim for betraying him, rushed into the enemy lines to face him. Their duel was epic but ended in tragedy. Fulgrim, now corrupted by a demon sword, cut off Ferrus's head. The first Primarch had fallen. Vulcan was captured and brutally tortured by Conrad Kurz, while Corax barely got away with what was left of his legion. With many loyal legions badly damaged, Horus now had a clear path to Terra. His rebellion was becoming stronger. Around the same time, Magnus the Red, Primarch of the Thousand Suns, discovered Horus's betrayal thanks to his psychic powers. Magnus was the strongest psyker among the Primarchs and could see events across the galaxy. When he saw Horus fall to chaos, he was shocked. The Emperor had banned psychic powers, but Magnus thought this warning was too important to ignore. So he tried to warn the Emperor using forbidden magic, exactly what the Emperor had told him never to do. And it turns out there was a good reason for that. By sending his magical message, Magnus accidentally damaged the Emperor's webway project and unleashed demons onto Terra. Thousands died as demons came through the breach, and the Emperor had to sit on the Golden Throne to stop the break from getting bigger and demons from taking over Terra. The Emperor, furious, sent Leman Russ to bring Magnus back for punishment. But because of confusion or manipulation by Horus, Russ attacked Magnus's home planet, Prospero, instead of capturing him. The Space Wolves descended on Prospero in a devastating assault. Magnus, initially refusing to fight back out of guilt, eventually joined the battle to save his legion. The Thousand Suns were almost wiped out, and Magnus, hurt by Russ in the fight, escaped to the Eye of Terror. Another loyal legion lost to the Emperor. While all this was happening, Lorgar sent most of his word-bearers to attack the Ultramarines. Led by Rabute Guilliman, the Ultramarines were the largest legion, possibly numbering over 250,000 Space Marines. Keeping them away from Terra was crucial to Horus's plans. The goal was to keep this massive legion far from Terra during the coming battle. The word-bearers attacked, and thousands of Ultramarines died in the ambush at the battle now called the Battle of Calth. Even though the Wordbearers had surprise and demons on their side, they were mostly beaten after Guilliman brought his forces together. To prevent the Ultramarines from making it back to Terra, the Wordbearers used a ritual sacrifice to create a massive warp storm. This warp storm, known as the Ruin Storm, cut the galaxy in half and successfully prevented the Ultramarines from joining the Emperor. With the Space Wolves weakened after attacking Prospero, the Ultramarines stuck behind the Ruin Storm, and 3 legions badly damaged at Isstvan III, Horus had neutralised more than half of the Loyalist forces. The road to Terra was completely open. On Terra, the Emperor had appointed Rhogar Dawn, Primarch of the Imperial Fists, as Praetorian of Terra. Dawn, the Emperor's architect, had been fortifying Terra for years, and the Imperial Palace became the most defended location in human history. 2 more loyal Primarchs made it to Terra before Horus's arrival, Sanguinius of the Blood Angels, and Jagatai Khan of the White Scars. Together with Dawn, they prepared for the coming storm. 7 years after the heresy began, Horus finally reached Terra with his traitor forces. The siege of Terra lasted 55 days and devastated the planet. Billions died as the traitor attacked cities and sent demons to hurt the people. Each traitor Primarch caused their own terrible damage during the siege. Mortarion and his Death Guard used deadly germs that made parts of the palace into plague zones. Portarabo, the expert in sieges, carefully planned how to break through the palace walls. The traitor legions, now corrupted by chaos, went wild. The Emperor's children stopped fighting and instead enjoyed cruel pleasures across whole continents. Angron, now a powerful demon of Khorne, just destroyed everything he saw, including his own troops. The defenders fought bravely. The Imperial Fists kept the walls, the Blood Angels launched strong attacks, and the White Scars made quick raids on enemy guns. But, even so, the palace defences were slowly falling apart. When all hope seemed lost, the Loyalists received word that reinforcements were approaching. Guilliman had broke through the Ruin Storm with his Ultramarines, and the Dark Angels and Space Wolves were on their way as well. With reinforcements on the way, Horus knew he was on the clock, and so he made a desperate gamble. He knew that if the fight went on for a long time, he would eventually lose. He needed to end it quickly. He lowered the shields on his flagship, daring the Emperor to come face him personally. The Emperor, along with his sons Sanguinius and Rhogar Dawn, teleported to his flagship, but the ship was twisted by chaos and they got separated. The Emperor's powers were weakened by the strong chaos energy, and he had to fight his way through the ship. Sanguinius, the angelic Primarch of the Blood Angels, reached Horus first. Despite being one of the most powerful Primarchs, he was no match for chaos-empowered Horus. After an epic and brutal fight, Horus killed him. The death of Sanguinius later caused a problem in his legion called the Black Rage, where Blood Angels sometimes go crazy, thinking they are Sanguinius in his last moments. When the Emperor arrived and found his most noble son dead, he realised Horus was beyond saving. They engaged in another epic battle, with Horus empowered by all 4 Chaos Gods. For a time, Horus seemed to be winning. He tore the Emperor's throat, hurt one of his eyes, and cut off his arm. But, at a crucial moment in the fight, an Imperial Guardsman came into the room. Some say Horus killed him instantly with just a thought, laughing while he did the deed. This cruel act showed the Emperor that Horus was no longer the son he loved. The Emperor used nearly all his psychic power to completely destroy Horus, not just killing his body, but erasing his soul and essence from existence. Something not even the Chaos Gods could prevent. But the victory came at a terrible cost. The Emperor was gravely injured and had to be put on the Golden Throne, which was converted into a life support machine. The traitor forces, now without leaders, ran away to the Eye of Terra. The Horus Heresy completely reshaped the Imperium. After the war, Rabute Guilliman, one of the few loyal Primarchs left, knew this could never happen again. He wrote the Codex Astartes, breaking the huge Space Marine Legion into smaller groups called chapters, each with 1,000 warriors, to stop any leader from having too much power. Some legions, like the Space Wolves, didn't want to split up, while others, like the Ultramarines, accepted it. This caused more disagreements, even among the loyal ones. At the same time, the Mechanicum of Mars split into the loyal Adeptus Mechanicus and the chaos-corrupted Dark Mechanicum. Now the Imperial Army is divided into the Imperial Guard and Imperial Navy, to prevent any one commander from controlling both ground and space forces. The Emperor, who was once against religion, is now worshipped as a god by billions. The old secular beliefs are replaced by the imperial cult. Over the next thousands of years, the loyal Primarchs either die, vanish, or go into deep sleep. By the 41st millennium, only Guilliman is awake again, brought back by Adeptus Mechanicus and Ynnari Elder. The Space Marines are split, the Emperor is a lifeless body on a throne, and Chaos has a strong hold on humanity's empire. All because of a family fight that got way out of hand.